Good morning, and thank you for spending your World Engineering Day with us. I'd like to welcome you to our youth panel this morning. We've got a great lineup of panelists, they're all at different stages of their engineering journeys, right from engineer at apprentice level right through to graduated and first year in the engineering industry. So I think before we kick off, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that has sent in your questions so far for our panel session. We will hopefully get all of them covered. And please, throughout the session, if you have any more questions, please do drop them in the live chat box, and hopefully our panel members will do all their best to get them answered for you. But I think let's kick off. Let's start with some introductions to our panel members.
Okay, so hello, my name is Erin. I'm 21 years old and I did my apprenticeship through a company called RS Components. I got a level 4 qualification in data analytics and I graduated last year in April. I'm now in a position where I work full-time for RS Components. Within RS Components, I work for Design Spark as a digital development specialist.
I'm Jay Bridges. I work for Mott MacDonald as an assistant engineer in rail and track design. I'm also in my last year of an apprenticeship with London South Bank University studying civil engineering. It's been quite a long, because you have to manage your studies with work and also with your social life. So it's been interesting compared to the graduate route.
So hi everybody. So lovely to be here. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Bayra Hamid, but I go by B. I study innovation engineering, which has adopted the slogan of problem solving at every level at the University of Portsmouth. And I'm currently on my placement year at SAP as an innovation lab associate and going on to my last year of study next year.
Hi everyone, my name is Slavena Pavlovich and thank you so much for inviting me to the panel. Just like B said, feel free to add me on LinkedIn and we're also here to network. I'm a recent graduate. I graduated from Imperial College London in September 2020. Before that, I did my undergrad at UCL Information Management for Business and I graduated in 2019. Now, I'm working as a technical product manager at Proximity. Proximity is a startup.
Great. It's really great to see so many of you all at different levels in your career and where you're kind of thinking of taking it off to. So I think that's really what we'll be discussing today. So Jay, obviously you touched on it's been a bit of a challenge to balance both studying, your social life, working in the workplace. So that's obviously taking that route and doing an apprenticeship. I completely can understand that, I think, but you also get that insight into the industry a lot sooner than a lot of people that like B, who maybe chose to go, and Slaviana that did a degree and potentially maybe didn't get that insight into the industry as soon as you did. So really, maybe we'll start with what made you choose the route that you did. Why did you choose to go through an apprenticeship route rather than straight to university?
I think
straight to the workplace.
Well, the main reason for me was I know that my work ethic for myself, sort of pushing myself, wasn't exactly where I wanted to be when I was leaving school. So I went into an apprenticeship because I knew the company would help me and my development would improve sort of linearly with my progression within the company, and also while I'm sort of learning and earning at the same time. Another big thing for me was the fact that you have more support. So through school, I had a lot of things where you think about what you're doing, you're like, well, actually, how am I going to use this in real life? Whereas now I'm in the workplace and also studying at the same time, I see where the practical applications of these skills are, and also it makes you want to learn more about it because you know you can actually apply it and how it will affect your role.
Yeah, so it's quite similar, but I think for me there was a lot of pressure from school that you kind of had to go to university and that's the route that you had to take and things like that. And I always knew, like even with my A-levels, I did A-levels but felt quite pressured doing A-levels. I probably, if I could go back, would not have done them. But I think it just comes from a point where that's kind of like your only option when you well, especially for me at school, they didn't speak about anything but other than university. But in sense with me, I've always been hands-on with things, so like I'd much rather learn through doing things rather than learn from being taught things, if that makes sense. But like I've been working since I was 14, so for me it was always, I just want to get in and work.
Agree. Yeah, I think that's great, and I think apprenticeships are definitely on the up. I think the exposure to them are becoming, you know, there's a lot more exposure to apprenticeships, which I think is a really good thing. But equally, you know, studying at university, I did it myself. You learn skills that you potentially you may not have learned from not going to university. Life skills are just as important as the skills that you learn throughout your degree as well. So B, over to you. What made you choose the university undergraduate route rather than another option?
Yeah, so the route initially was instilled by my parents, like you should follow university pathway. And to be honest, I really like education, so I fell into it and I was happy to do it. But actually finding the course that I wanted was the hardest part for me. So innovation engineering was a course that was like no other at any other university, and it bridged the gap between one specialism to the other. And that's not what drew me to the course. It was the continual failure in like my personal statement, which actually the lack of authenticity in it, trying to find the different engineering pathways, was what really damaged like me applying to university at an earlier stage. I ventured into HR pathways and stuff like that. But I took a step back, and my head of sixth form kind of redirected me and told me like, stop building your own ceiling for yourself. And that's what then got me to explore different the different courses. And I searched and searched for hours, but then this one spoke to my heart, and then I began writing what felt like the millionth version of my personal statement, but it was a reflection of myself and my passion, and that's why I picked innovation engineering as a degree.
That actually takes us quite nicely on to one of a question that we've just had in now. But before Slaviana, what made you choose your progression?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. Well, essentially, like I'm interested in technology, and my undergrad was technology and like lots of modules around it. So like it was partially computer science, partially management and business. And by the time I was finishing my undergrad, I wanted to specialize in one particular field in technology. And then I was doing my research, just like B said. Initially, I didn't know what I want to do. I'm interested in data science. I'm also interested in machine learning, but I also want to specialize in something specific in tech. And I came across like an accident, more like I came across this master's in Imperial in bioinformatics, which is essentially computational biology. Letting me stay in the tech field, but at the same time diving deep in the field of biology and learning more about what's happening in the world around this. So it's more like it was a natural progression, but initially I wouldn't have thought that after doing my undergrad, I'm going to do postgrad. The benefits of doing this research, you're afterwards studying, like basically it matches then your expectations. If you spend your time finding the undergrads that you want to do, postgrads that you want to do, afterwards when you're studying these modules, you don't feel like you're pressured by someone, by your family or friends, whoever, like to do this stuff, and it's coming from you, and afterwards it basically pays off.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, that it's funny actually, because we've just had that question in. It's how did you choose? Was it just through research? How did you choose how did you know which part of engineering you wanted to go in? You know, it's such a huge industry. You can specialize in all types of engineering. You've got, you name it, you've got it. So I think coming up from college, or even leaving school, I remember it so well. You leave school and your eyes are open to all of these different industries, all of these different avenues that can possibly go into, and it's so overwhelming. And like I say, engineering is one of those. It's a huge industry. So how did each of you choose exactly what avenue you wanted to go?
For me, there was like a few things that I was interested in, so I think that also comes down to part of why I didn't go to university, because I just didn't know what to do. But because I've always been interested in maths. Maths has always been one of my passions, and I guess you could say I have an eye for the details as well. So like I always love problem solving and reading between the lines for things and showing the progressions of things. So when I seen the opportunity to do data analytics as an apprenticeship, because that also contained a lot of data science, and you learn on machine learning as well, which is also super interesting. So for me, that kind of just fit so many of my boxes that it just made sense to at least try it, because I mean, I'm still young at the end of the day, so if I did decide I wanted to do something else, there's the options there. But I think it's such a great thing to go into straight away, because you get to see so much of the business as well, just through doing data. So I think for me that was the main reason why I decided to start with that, really.
Yeah. What about you, Jay? Was that similar to you, or did you always know you wanted to work within construction, or was it a researching phase in your life that led you to that?
For me, it was a bit different. So similar to the fact that as a kid, I always liked to know how things work. So I liked Meccano, I liked Lego, I liked Connects and things like that. And you sort of learn how things work, mobility. And when I started to look into engineering, I looked at all different professions, so electrical, mechanical, and then I looked at civil, and civil sort of encompasses all other engineering disciplines from a design construction background. So I thought that civil engineering will probably the opposite of what Slaviana has done, is I wanted to come away from a specialism and see where exactly I wanted to fit in terms of engineering and in terms of the business. So I've been lucky enough to work in railways, I've worked in bridges, I've worked in foundations and geotechnics. I've also done mechanical and electrical, so I've got quite an experienced background in sort of different variations of engineering, and then I have chosen where I sort of want to sit for maybe not the remainder of my career, but for a big part of it, sort of leading into the project management side as well. Yeah.
No, that's great. And I think that leads on to you, B. I think now you're in your placement year, have you thought, actually, this is a new avenue, this is something that I'd quite like to explore a little bit further? Is this still, now you're on your placement year, has it given you a change of heart, or is it still your avenue that you want to stay in?
So my course has mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, a bit of business, design engineering, and also environmental issues exploration within the course. So I had the widespread opportunity to look at different work experiences and different internships according to each engineering area. And I really like the electronical engineering side of it, the bit where it was coding, the bit where I could use MATLAB to kind of destroy the maths and like build it back up. I just enjoy the coding side of it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to apply to something that uses anything that's VR related, machine learning related, augmented reality, to kind of infiltrate the corporate life. And that's why I picked SAP in the innovation labs. Would I like to stay on to it? I think I would like to switch. So I'm currently doing a master's degree in the actual innovation engineering, but after this year, I'm thinking to switch back to a bachelor's and master in software engineering or computer science to then take that passion forward.
Yeah, so do you feel that that's come off the back of your placement year? You know, you've learned something from going out into the industry. See, I think that's where it's great. I think that exposure early on, that exposure to the industry, I think can really help shape your future. And Slaviana, I know you, whilst you were studying, you landed some roles within the industry. Do you feel that helped shape your route to go on to kind of be where you are now within your role?
Well, like right now I'm working in the field of finance, and the two main products are proxy voting and shareholder disclosures, which is definitely not something you cover in undergrad or master's, no matter which course you would pick. So in terms of why technology, Originally, I'm coming from Belarus, and I came to the UK only about almost 7 years ago. And in Belarus, there is a very strong like focus on IT. Let's say it this way. You have programming classes even in school. However, it is in Pascal ABC, so it's nothing that is used in the UK, and no one probably has heard of it here. So I learned Java initially on my own in Belarus because I was doing my research and figuring out what is there in the industry. So back then, I thought Java is the way forward, and when I came to the UK, I was learning Python on my own, and the reason really why tech is because I saw I can make an impact. At that point, I didn't know like in which field it's going to be, where exactly I wanted to be in tech, because I know that it doesn't matter where I'm coming from, like what my gender is, or like anything about me. I can do code, and it can make an impact, and this is like what mattered to me the most. And that really, like, to get started, all you need just computer and passion and just a bit of curiosity, finding out how to solve the problems. And this is something that you get with technology. It's you get lots of problems. You can't find an exact solution on the internet. You may find some tools that can help you, some modules that can make your life easier. But after all, it's coming down to your logic and if you can solve the problem. During my undergrad, there were still modules in Java. They still are. It's a foundation of computer science, of object-oriented programming. But I was still doing my own projects, and I focused my dissertation on Python. It's not something that was taught in my course, and like learning Python was the best thing that I did in my tech career. I'm still learning. I'm not an expert in any way, and probably will never be. It's a continuous learning, which is very important, and it's helping me now in my career. I'm working in finance, and as I said, it has nothing to do with my undergrad or master's, but it is about technology. There, like, even though my role, the title is technical product manager, I'm implementing technical solutions myself. I'm not just managing existing products. So these solutions, they have been written in Python, and they're saving time and lots of resources for the company, which is great. So both sides are happy. I'm solving like this, like interesting problems, and the company is getting very quick solutions to their problems.
Great. Yeah, I mean, you touched upon there, you know, you've gone out of your way to teach yourself Python. You've gone out of your way to kind of build these skills, you know, on the side of studying. So that touches on the question we've had in. What sort of, in your opinion, kind of what extra support have you given yourself, and what extracurricular type of, if you have done any extra kind of skills that you've built alongside your degree to kind of help you path your way within this industry, you know? Erin, I know you were mentioning obviously when you were looking for apprenticeships, obviously a lot of it goes down to kind of just researching, looking. Did you attend any kind of events like this? So, you know, these types of events are great, you know, you guys being on the panel discussing your different routes are just, it's vital for people that are at that point in their lives where they're not sure what route they want to take, they're not sure, they're interested in engineering, but they're not sure how much they want to pursue it, if they want to, you know, dive into a 3-year undergrad, even a master's, or they want to do what Jay and Erin have done and gone through to an apprenticeship level. Did you guys do anything, you know, extracurricular? Did you attend any kind of job fairs? Did you have a work experience? Did you do a day on site, or did you do anything extracurricular that kind of helped you think, yes, absolutely, that's helped me?
I didn't actually, but knowing how much that it would have helped, I now try and push as much of my time into sort of STEM events to encourage people into science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or careers fairs, panel discussions like this one. And I try and sort of show that the apprenticeship is a viable route into the industry, and arguably as good as a graduate route. Obviously, everyone's experiences will be different. So, and the route that you choose might not be applicable in an apprenticeship. So data sciences might not be as easy to get into as construction, or so it is something you have to weigh up, and going to sort of careers fairs and stuff would benefit. But I didn't attend any, but now I try and push as much as my time to attend them from the other side, so that people will get the benefit that I didn't have.
I first want to thank Campus Media, because after venturing into the Women in Engineering event, I got to meet Melissa, who is like the head of tech woman, and she reached out to me and tried to, and we now volunteer at schools who don't get exposed to, where the children don't get exposed to STEM subjects. So then we push the idea of, you know, STEM and how you could go into it, whether that's through an apprenticeship or whether that's through university, and just exposing them to science, technology, engineering and maths. And I wouldn't have had that networking opportunity without attending that Women in Engineering event that you guys have led. I've also done a bit of work experience with my sixth form prior to applying to university, which helped me then narrow down what engineering I wanted to, because I had the opportunity to do a week's worth of civil engineering, and that didn't speak that much into my heart. But then talking to those type of events, like what are they called? The work center events, I don't know, where you could talk to all the different companies, and just the idea just gets you thinking about, where could I see myself? Where does my personality fit into? And how could that then build my confidence into applying to that kind of subject?
Great, yeah. What about you, Slavia? And I know you worked at Microsoft whilst studying. Do you feel that helped shape yourself in kind of your postgrad or your role that you're in now? Do you feel that helped benefit you or carve your way, shall we say?
Yes, so I was a Microsoft student partner lead for Microsoft during my time at university. However, like all these like things with networking and companies have started prior to that. And when I was in Cardiff System College, for example, I was very interested in 3D printing technology and I wanted to find out more. And then at that time, I tried to find in Cardiff where there is a 3D printer, and I couldn't find any. So instead, like at that point of time, I decided to do a bit of more research. In my free time. Of course, like all of us, like we're occupied, but then if you're passionate about something, you will find time, you will find resources to do this. Otherwise, there will be lots of excuses. In my case, I was really interested in 3D printing, still am. And what I did instead, I was doing notes and like sort of research about the technology. Afterwards, like in June or July, 3D, like basically a scientific journal, academic journal approached me, and it's because there's some publications on some public forums, and I got a publication out of this. So lots of the things and opportunities you can create, they don't really need to be coming from something like, or someone, like it's not about spoon feeding. And I believe the best things that you can do in your life are probably done like by yourself or like with the help, like a network. However, like in my situation, like I'm just trying to show an example that you don't need to have all this tech and all these resources to get on going to learn something. During my time at sixth form, I also wanted to learn more about the UK politics. I had no exposure to that before at all. Came from Belarus, knew nothing about it. And 2 months I was after in the UK, I was already volunteering at the National Assembly for Wales, and I was political researcher, writing speeches for a politician and doing more research about that. So it doesn't really need to be like something like specific opportunity created. You can always contact individuals on LinkedIn, approaching the companies. They have all email addresses, and the same goes even to proximity. Even though like a current company doesn't advertise some like entry-level positions, they have email address at careers, and you can send an email and with your CV, and you will get considered. You will hopefully like get reply, and everything will be fine. And the same way during my time at university, the number of times I was trying to approach the company's network. Yeah, of course, there were countless number of career fairs and events as such, and they were super useful. And then what you're trying to do is to build up the connection, even with the speakers. Like, so for example, after like watching this event, like why don't you send a LinkedIn request and check how to build your LinkedIn network and investigate this, because afterwards it will pay off. Let's say like in future you want to hypothetically to work for the company A, and they have, let's say, a referral system. You will afterwards ask this person, could you please write an internal reference for me, so I will get a quicker consideration, or like this application will go straight to the recruiter. So there are lots of benefits of doing this, and I know it doesn't like hurt doing this. You just need to step out from your comfort zone and start doing this, and not being scared approaching people online that you have never met before, or like the
Yeah.
companies that you have never met before in real life. It's fine. You can find these opportunities and create them yourself.
Yeah, I think Slaviana, you're completely right there. I think going back to what I said earlier, you know, in terms of apprenticeship, I think if I could go back again and there was more exposure to apprenticeships, oh my God, I'd 100%, you know, I would definitely try an apprenticeship. But you know, as much as I say there's not much exposure, it's also exposing yourself to those opportunities, like you say, you know, putting yourself out there. And B, like you said earlier, Melissa Ahmed, who if you guys are all tuning into this event, you will have seen that Melissa does discuss her STEM ambassador program, and her email is always open. So, you know, shooting Melissa an email to say you're interested in becoming a STEM ambassador, look where it's landed. B, you know, it's experience that she's got now to build her portfolio within the industry. So it's finding those little ins, you know, saying that's actually something I'm interested in, so and capitalizing on that. That I think that kind of transitions on to the next one. This next question that we've just had in is always a funny one, because we're at such, like I said with you guys, you're all at different stages, and some people are at such pivotal stages where something could happen. It could be a huge change, or you know, you're at a point now where you're just flying in your industry, in your career. So the next question is, if you could go back, or you could make any changes at the beginning of when you started your journey within engineering or tech, what, you know, if you could make any changes, what changes would you make?
So not in terms of doing the apprenticeship. If anything, I would have started it sooner, to be honest. But I think when I'd first started my apprenticeship, I think if there was one thing I could go back and change, would be learning Python sooner, or any form of coding sooner than I have, because especially in the field that I work in, it's super relevant and super important, and it's quite thought after at the moment as well, having that skill. So I definitely would have learnt that a lot sooner than I did. So that would probably be the only thing that I would go back and change, if not having just started it sooner.
What about you, Jay? Are there any changes that you feel that you would have made if you could? Oh, you
No,
still can. It's not too late, is it?
No, I don't think I would. I did apply to uni. I went through the UCAS system. I got offers, and I decided that I didn't think uni was for me. So maybe not a change, but maybe just a piece of advice would be to explore both options, because you're not tied down to anything at that point. You've got nothing to lose. If you find a role in a company as an apprenticeship that would suit you more than the university you applied for, which is what I did, it's not a problem. You're not stuck to one or the other at that point. So just look at both and don't restrict your view on it immediately.
Completely agree with that. Completely. And it goes down to pressures as well. You know, don't fall under the pressures of all of my friends are going to university, so that's the next step that I need to take. I think that's also a big one. But at that age, you know, when you're first leaving school, it's definitely changing now. There are more events like this, and there's more exposure to get yourself into the field and see how big it is, and kind of a bit more direction. I think when I left, there wasn't really that. So it's definitely changing, which is good. What about you, B? Have you got any? I mean, it sounds like they said earlier, it sounds like you're semi sort of making that change now, but is there any other changes that you feel you would have made?
Yeah, actually, after my first year, I wish I would have explored summer placements during my first year, so that I could then try an engineering firm during the summer before second year, which I think would have been such an amazing, like, eye-opening experience, and would have given me more of a segue between the tech that I'm doing now and what my course was originally designed for.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of placement years. You just put it to practice and you can see exactly how you do it in industry. What about you, Slaviana?
What I would have done differently, I would have probably created my LinkedIn account quicker. I created it when I was in my in A2, second year of A levels, and I think if I did this in my basically AS first year, it would have benefited me a lot. So I could add more speakers that I attend, all this expanded my network from the start. And even though I created it quite early, it may seem relatively. I feel I could have done it much quicker. Another thing is. There are career teams throughout universities in the UK, and it's something that I think it's a great free resource. I mean, like, you're paying for your tuition fees. It's something that you should use, and a lot of jobs sometimes get posted specifically on university career boards, and they're not getting publicly posted like on LinkedIn or other job boards that you may know of. So it's something like to take advantage of, and really getting in touch with the career team, trying to find out and getting even advice, like, what do you think about my personal statement? And of course, with the things like personal statements, cover letters, you will show it to 10 people, you will get 10 different opinions. After all, it's up to you to decide what is actually that should be going there, that shows who you are. But it's very nice to get advice. Like, if there is advice there for you, why not use it?
That's exactly that. I think you've answered some great pieces of advice there. So for our audience to take away there, that actually answers our last question, which is, if you guys have any advice to people that are at a point, you know, any stage, you know, a student, we've got school leavers watching who have an interest in engineering that potentially don't know which route they want to go down. We have current students that are on their undergrad. Any pieces of advice that you guys, Laviana, yours were absolutely great, and I advise anybody watching to definitely watch this back, because there's been some absolute great pieces of advice here that you guys can definitely take away from this. And also, on just touching on that in terms of advice and you know, excelling your skills, we have got soft skills workshop later on today as well, so I definitely tune into that, because don't ever, this is my piece of advice, I'll start us off, don't ever feel like your skills, you know, don't forget about the skills that are beyond just what you've learned at university. You know, you can pick up skills anywhere. You know, if you've worked in, your part-time job when you were 16 was working in Tesco's, or you worked in a clothes shop, and you know, that was my first job, I worked in a clothes shop, and I take those skills with me everywhere I go. That built my confidence, that built absolutely everything from when I was a school leaver. So, you know, those soft skills are really, really important. There's much more to you in your applications beyond just your academic and what you've learned at school. So we have got a workshop on that later. But yes, has anybody got any advice for anybody watching now that is kind of at a point where they're thinking, do I, don't I, where do I go?
Well, I'll say do it. Like, don't be your own ceiling, shout at the top of the rooftops, and be confident in your abilities, as Lynsey said. And like, don't limit yourself to a job description, because sometimes they put the hardest description in there, and you tend to be like, oh, I don't match all these points. No, apply anyway, do it. Like, search through universities, search through apprenticeships, and find what matches your personality and do it. Never say don't do it. Apply always.
Love it, do it. Yes. What about you, Jay? Have you got any pieces of advice?
I think it would be to have a look around all different types of engineering, because I'm going to be honest, I didn't know anything about the engineering that the other sort of panelists spoke about today. So that's probably myself not doing enough exploration into what else that there is out there. And if you do think engineering is for you, you really need to have a look and see what type of engineering, because it is such a broad subject. And yeah, just have a study about what different types of engineering there are, and just try and figure out where you think you'd want to fit in that sort of big spectrum of roles, responsibilities, and types of jobs that you can get from that industry.
What about you, Erin? Have you got any words of advice for anybody that's thinking of getting into the industry?
So I think the main thing I would say is just don't let anyone else make your decisions for you. Like, you need to understand what you want and what works best for you, not what social situations put you in, or what your teachers tell your parents or your friends. You just need to make sure that you know what you need for yourself, because at the end of the day, it's your life, it's no one else's life. So if you know that you're going to work better being stuck in the situation than attending school again, essentially, then that's what you need to do. But vice versa, if you know that you need to get in there and you need to learn through that, then that's what's going to be better for you. So I think the only thing I can say really would be just know yourself before you need to make the big decisions.
Great. I think that's perfect. I think I'm walking away from this feeling inspired and motivated, so I hope everybody at home is. But I think that's it at the end of our panel session now. So if anybody has any questions for any of our panelists, as I mentioned earlier, that we will do all we can to get them answered on the live chat, so please do ask any on there. Like Bea and Slaviana said, if you'd like to learn any more about any of the industries that they are in, please do add them on LinkedIn and have a chat. And I guess all I've got to say is just, yeah, good luck with your journey that you're going to do. But thank you so much, guys. I think you've been great on the panel, and I think people are going to be walking away from this feeling really inspired and hopefully more open-minded.